I'm a venture capitalist and I love investing in companies. And while venture capitalists need great companies to invest in, some great companies don't need venture capitalists. And that's where you have leverage. I'm going to give you five alternatives to venture capital that will help you make money for your company. The first one is Stripe. If you are already a Stripe customer, meaning that you use Stripe to take payments from your customers, then you may have already established a credit with them that would allow you to take out a Stripe loan. The way you find out is you go into your Stripe account, sign in, and then look for a section called Capital. It may be called something slightly different on your account or at a different time, but you're looking for something that makes you think it's about money, capital, lending. Then you go to that section and it will tell you if you are eligible for a Stripe loan. The way you pay back the Stripe loan is that every month and every time someone makes a payment, Stripe will take out upfront 5 to 20% of that payment in little pieces until your monthly minimum is met. So for instance, let's say you take out a $10,000 loan from Stripe. Let's say that you are eligible to do that. Then each month, let's say that the minimum you have to pay is $1,500 every month. You get a payment for $40, they're going to take out 5 to 20% of that, depending on what you agree on. And every time that payment comes through from your customer, they're taking that payment back as part of their loan. So you do not have to pay it back straight to Stripe. It's coming through your payments. This can be really interesting, especially if you have a lot of payments that come through each month and you need an advance on that. And then once you pay that off, and you can pay it early if you want to, once you pay it off, you can request another loan of a different size if you need one. Now, make sure that you feel confident that you can pay this loan back before you take out a Stripe loan. The next way is something called factoring. Factoring is simply a way that a specialized lender can give you an advance on your purchase orders. So let's say that you have a CPG product and you have a great offer from a huge company that wants to stock you. And they're going to pay you X amount of money to stock you, or they're going to see how well you do. But you don't have the money needed to produce those products yet. Let's say that happened with Yacht Water, my water brand. Let's say that 7-Eleven said, we want to have 1 million cans in, and I didn't have 1 million cans. What I could do is I could find a reputable factoring company that would lend me the money by taking the purchase order that I got from that company. So if you have a purchase order in hand, not an email, not a whisper or promise, but an actual purchase order, you can take that purchase order and get it factored. And what the lender will do is they will contact the buyer directly, so your partner directly, and say, is this a good purchase order? Is this legit? That entity will have to agree. And then the entity will send it to you, will send it to the factor directly rather than sending it to you and then you sending it to the factor. So you're exchanging money in advance for the purchase order, and then the factor is working with that entity. So not everybody loves doing it this way because they don't necessarily want the entity to know they couldn't afford it, but it really happens a lot. It is a, I will say, good quote unquote way of having debt. It's a good way to have leverage, and it's a legitimate way to do it. But you do want to make sure you're working with legitimate people. Now, we're going to go to number 3 in a second, but I want to make sure that you know about Arlan's All Access. Look at the link below this video. And if you're someone who wants to make an extra $100,000 in the next 12 months, that I get your attention, then you're going to want to join Arlan's All Access. For 12 months, I am teaching everyone in the group how to make an additional $100,000 no matter where they're starting. And as long as you go through everything that we do, weekly calls, all of the homework that you get, etc., you will have $100,000 extra by the end of 12 months, or I will refund the $1,200 that you spent because it's $100 per month. So you can quit anytime. You don't have to do the full 12 months. You can give it a try for 1 month and see if you like what I'm doing. Go to the link in the description below, learn more about it. There's another video that tells you more about it, but I definitely want you to check that out. Now, the third way is you're going to crowd fund or crowd equity fund. So what that means is you're going to do something like a Kickstarter where people give you money and you send them t-shirts or you put their name on your website. Or you're going to do something called crowd equity funding, which is where people invest a smaller amount of money than was normally needed, and they become essentially co-owners of your brand. So I'm doing this with Yacht Water. If you go to yachtwater.com, you'll see it in real life. And this is something that you might want to do for your own company. Now, you want to have an established audience. You are not able to do a crowd fund, especially a crowd equity fund, if you have no audience whatsoever, no customers. But your customers could be your co-owners. And I think that's really special. And a lot of big companies, small companies, medium-sized companies have done this over the past few years since it became legal to do so in 2012 through the Jobs Act that President Obama and his team put together. So now you can raise up to $5 million in one round if you want to and bypass venture capitalists altogether. I've actually done that before. I'm one of the very few people who has done that number before. I did that in 2021 for Backstage Capital, my venture fund. But what most people do, and you'll see when you go to Yacht Water, is they raise 50K, 100K, 200K, and that can take them really far, especially in those earlier days. Now, if you don't think that you have the audience who would want to invest $100 or more in numbers, in bulk, then you might try something that's like a Kickstarter or ifundwomen.com or fundblackfounders.com. These are companies that don't take equity. When someone invests, they don't take equity in exchange. Instead, what they do is you give them perks and benefits, and they get to be part of a community that's doing something special. And that can be great because then you could say, hey, it's for this very specific reason or this time period. I'm raising a smaller amount. Maybe I'm trying to raise $10,000. Go to Seed and Spark, Seed, SEED, and Spark. If you have a movie that you want to get made, Seed and Spark specializes in that, and I've invested in that company. So you have a lot of different options. All you have to do is go on YouTube or go on Google and just search for your type of company and crowdfunding, crowd equity funding, or crowdfunding in general. The next way is number 4 is angel investors. So you might know that term already, but an angel investor is someone who's not a venture capitalist. They don't do this for a living, but they're someone who wants to back you and they have enough money to do so. They're considered an accredited investor, which means they make $200,000 or more per year, or their net worth is 1 million or more. You can do more research on that if you're interested in becoming an angel investor. And again, when you invest in a crowd equity raise from number 3, you also become an angel investor. So there's different ways to think about it. But what you want to do is think about, is there someone in my network that I already know that could do something? So let's say you're trying to raise $25,000 for some very specific reason. And again, you've done all the research, you know exactly why you're raising this, you know exactly there's a significant milestone that you need to get to. It's not just, I just would like 25,000. You might say, who is a former employer of mine? Who is someone in my family who is doing well? And maybe they want to pitch in $5,000 or some other amount to help me get to ABC in exchange for owning a piece of my company. Now, be very careful when you enter into these types of arrangements with friends, families, coworkers. Money can have a way of hurting relationships. So you want to be very clear with what the person receives, what they're buying into, and what your expectations are for interaction about the investment. What I mean by that is that if somebody says, hey, I'll invest $5,000, sure, I'll help you out. And then they're so close and so critical of what you do. So they're asking you at the dinner table, how's my investment? They're calling you twice a week to find out what's going on. That is going to ruin your company. It's going to ruin potentially your relationship. So you want to say at the outset, if you think there are any problems, or even if you don't, kind of like a prenup, you want to say, these are my boundaries. These are my expectations. Please let me know what yours are so that we can be on the same page starting out. And maybe we'll even put that pen to paper and make sure that we both agree with that. Because even, in that honeymoon period, even the greatest things, they may seem like it's going to be great, but then it gets a little wonky. But angel investors sometimes are surprising. Sometimes they're a parent. Sometimes they're an aunt or uncle. Sometimes they're a friend of yours who may have something going on in their lives where they're like, actually, I would love to put 5,000 in because I want to see that turn into 10,000 over the next few years. And I want to diversify. I'm putting money over here and over there. I understand that I may lose it altogether because startup investing is risky, but I'd love to give it a try. So that's one. Now, number 5, and there's a bonus one, so don't go anywhere. Number 5 is pitch competitions. I have seen so many people make their first maybe $50,000 to $100,000 for their company through pitch competitions alone. By signing up to 10 or 20 pitch competitions, getting into 3 or 5 of them, and then winning 2 or 3 of them. I've seen this happen. I've seen it happen with companies that went on to become VC backed and those that didn't. And so you can search right now for, again, your industry and pitch competitions and see what's coming up. I even have a new pitch competition on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description so you can check out my $5,000 pitch competition and you can join it. You can apply to be on one of the contestants. You can apply to be one of the contestants and perhaps win that 5,000. But there are thousands of pitch competitions throughout the world every single year, and you will find something potentially that will be for you. Now, if you are a company that is, let's say you're a consultant or you're an agency or you're some type of solopreneur, sometimes these pitch competitions aren't going to be for you. You can sign up for mine for sure, but sometimes they're going to be for more, for little bit larger companies or companies that want to have, maybe grow in a different way. But you can think about the 4 that I told you, because if you have something that you're working on that is of value, there's more than likely someone else who wants to participate in that because they don't want to build that themselves, but they want to be part of it. And I have one bonus, and the bonus is going to be kind of funny for some people, but I'm being very serious. For some, not all, applying for Shark Tank is actually a good idea. And you may say, well, there's so many people who apply every year. How would I ever get on? And how would I ever get any money from that? And it takes months and months to get on and then to air and then get the money. All of those things are true. But why not set yourself up with the best odds for everything? Why not just in the background have it so that maybe you get on Shark Tank and maybe you get that exposure, whether you get the deal or not? You've seen so many people, hundreds of examples of companies that have gone onto Shark Tank, didn't even get the money, but they got such great exposure that they were able to sell like crazy. So I would just have it in the background if your company is a CPG product or the type of products that they look at on Shark Tank. And again, I'll see you in Arlan's All Access, where we talk about this and so much more every single day. And every week we go live on Zoom. I am here for the whole 52 weeks, 12 months from when you start. You will get all you need to make $100,000 extra over the next 12 months. I can't wait to see you there. I hope this video was helpful, and please stick around, check out my videos. I have a video for almost every topic, and I'm putting things up 5 times per week on YouTube. If this has been helpful to you, please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.